However, it was rocked by two violent tremors during the magnitude 7.0 Kumamoto earthquake. The stone walls supporting the castle collapsed in numerous places. Kumamoto Castle suffered the worst level of damage in its cultural properties for the first time in years after World War II.
片隅の石垣だけでですね、持ってくれてます。奇跡の一本柱。
よう支えております。なんで一本だけで。たくさんの物語をですね、私どもの物語に提供してくれたんですよね。今度壊れたというところがですね、残念で仕方ない。
How should the castle be restored? Using a drone equipped with a high-resolution 4K camera, NHK set out to survey the damage. The images then underwent over 3,000 hours of analysis using the latest technology. The result was used to reproduce a virtual castle. That led to an unexpected discovery. While many of the sections of the stone walls rebuilt after the Meiji era sustained damage, 90% of the original stone walls withstood the earthquake. Why were the older stone walls more resistant to tremors? What became apparent from their construction method was a mathematical formula that even astounded today's scholars.
1600年の石垣の最高技術がここにあった。
そうです。どこでこういうような計算式をね生み出したのか。侍たちの英知という言い方がふさわしいでしょうね。
When construction originally began on Kumamoto Castle towards the end of the 16th century, Japan was experiencing frequent major earthquakes. The samurai ancestors devised many technological innovations to prepare for natural disasters.
当時の人も僕らと全く同じような地震への恐怖感ですとか、そういった心情を強く持ったんだと実感しました。現在への、一種の警告として、読まれるべき内容を含んでいる。
Kumamoto Castle is finally revealing its 400-year-old secrets. How was this sturdy castle constructed? And how should a castle full of samurai wisdom be brought back to life? The challenge to restore Kumamoto Castle begins. The Kumamoto earthquake was a series of earthquakes, including 2 jolts that recorded a maximum 7 on Japan's seismic intensity scale. It took the lives of over 200 people and forced more than 100,000 people to evacuate. The castle complex is situated on an extensive 242-acre campus. How much damage did the earthquakes cause? NHK, the Japanese public broadcaster, cooperated with Kumamoto City, who is the administrator of the castle, in surveying the damage. The stone walls that support the structure had collapsed in many places. Because of the dangerous conditions, it was impossible to complete the survey of the damage from the ground. So a drone equipped with a high-resolution 4K camera was used to capture images of the damage. This allowed the team to survey even the smallest damage in places where it was too dangerous to approach. Based on the GPS data, the collected images were digitized. The analysis of the entire data sets took more than 3,000 hours. The result was used to reproduce a high-precision virtual castle in 3D. The model could be studied from various angles to reveal even minor details. The extent of the damage became apparent for the first time. The main tower, made of 2 keeps, matters were getting even worse. there were many aftershocks. They amounted to more than 3,500 in a month. The situation remained critical. An emergency operation to limit further damage to the building began. Would this intervention prevent the structure from collapsing from the aftershocks? A giant steel support arm was carefully moved toward the turret. The tip of the arm will be slid carefully under the building so that the scaffold would cradle and support the weight of the turret. The work continued, adjusting the position of the arm several millimeters at a time. They are now ready to insert the giant arm where the stone wall had collapsed. The arm that supports the weight of the turret was set. That allowed access beneath the turret.
これももうこんな状態ですからね。どの石も。
Though the aftershocks continued, the spread of damage had been halted for the time being. Toshihiro Sumagari works for the municipality of Kumamoto City. He is the project leader for the reconstruction.
春の桜のシーズンは花見のお客様で賑わう空間。もうお客様が全くいないというのは、これが地震の後の状況かと。
Kumamoto City proclaimed their goal to rebuild the main tower, the castle's symbol, in less than 3 years. It was because the main tower holds a special place in the hearts of the Kumamoto citizens.
そうですね。昭和35年に天守閣が復元されたんですけど、私も35年、幼稚園ぐらいで、熊本城も自分も同じなんか成長というか育ってきたんだなっていうことをそういうことを考えると身近に感じますよね。なんだ僕の弟かなという感じですね。
There's a reason why the main tower holds such a special place in the hearts of the Kumamoto citizens. Kiyomasa Kato was the first lord of Kumamoto Castle. He built the main tower 400 years ago. But the Seinen War, or the Satsuma Rebellion, broke out during the Meiji era. The main tower was burned to the ground. For more than half a century, Kumamoto Castle was without a main tower. In the Showa era, Kumamoto came under attack during World War II. Many people lost their lives in air raids. Then, in 1959, plans were announced to restore the main tower as a symbol of post-war reconstruction efforts. Donations from citizens poured in, and the reconstruction began.
いやこれ昼間だったらもう本当に観光客の、ね、方に本当犠牲者が。被害がなかったというのはある意味もう奇跡的なことだというふうに思うので、逆に言えば今後その安全対策っていうのをねしっかりしてもっと強固なものにやっぱりしていくっていうねやっぱ覚悟をなんか今これを見て改めてしたような気がします。
A technical proposal created by a construction company to rebuild the main tower was submitted to Kumamoto City. Resistant. After that, the stone walls would be rebuilt.
なんかこれ見るとなんか少しまた安心したというかね、少しそうかこれで進めるなっていう感じがしますね。
However, Tetsuo Tanaka of the Himeji Center for Research into Castles and Fortifications complained that deliberately damaging architectural artifacts, even temporarily, was out of the question. Another colleague, Hiroshi Kitano of Tohoku University of Arts and Design, was also very critical of the proposed plan.
文化財軽視であると、やっぱりその構造の安定性を重視した設計案で、そのことによって失われている文化財の価値に対する配慮検討が十分なされていないという感想を持ちました。その石垣を一部破壊して、あるいはその現代的な工法で積み直すことによって、出来上がった時に、本来この熊本城の石垣が持っていた価値の一部はやはり損なわれてしまうわけですから。
How could the mayor preserve the worth of cultural properties, yet make the structures quake resistant? Kumamoto City had to reconcile these two opposing interests before they could start reconstruction on the castle. In the meantime, NHK continued its investigation into the damage to Kumamoto Castle. Analysis of the three-dimensional model revealed something quite unexpected. And beams remained as they were when they were first built. The secret lay in the stone walls that form the foundation of the structure. When compared to the pre-quake survey data, there was almost no deformation. The stability of the stone wall minimized the damage to the turret. The Neo stone wall is also one of the oldest structures that have survived to this day. It too has minimum deformation. Was it just a coincidence that the original stone walls withstood the force of the earthquake? To solve this mystery, we looked into the history of the stone walls. During the 400 years since its construction, Kumamoto Castle has gone through numerous additions and restorations. When the locations of the collapse from the present earthquake are mapped, we see that 31% of the damage occurred on stone walls restored in the post-Meiji era. Meanwhile, damage to the walls of the castle's initial construction was limited to 10%. 90% of the samurai's stone walls withstood the quake. Kumamoto Castle was built by Kiyomasa Kato. He is known as a master castle builder who was involved in the construction of many castles. Why were the stone walls from the original construction, the ones that Kiyomasa built, so sturdy? To learn the secret, we've asked experts to examine the 3D model.
モデル自体を分断して、でそこでその形状を測っていくということもわかるかと思います。はい。
Tomio Tamano, is an expert on stone wall structures. He believes the secret of why the stone walls are resistant to earthquakes lies in the way the stones are stacked.
稜線がこうだとしたら、ほぼ直角ですね。
Gate was restored in the Meiji era. It suffered catastrophic damage from the earthquake. The gradient of the wall they restored was straight and almost perpendicular, which we can see in the photo shot before the 2016 Kumamoto earthquake. The experts don't know why they didn't use the Musha Gayesi curve. The difference in the way the stones were stacked changed the fate of the building hit by the earthquake. During the course of the research, the crew learned of the existence of an old book with building instruction for Musha Gayesi. The Secret Book of Stone Walls. Ishigaki Hiden no Sho in Japanese. It is said that the book was written by Kiyomasa's stone wall building artisans. First, to calculate the nori curve. When calculating a 50% nori, multiply 6 by 5 to get a 3 shaku nori. Nori. This unfamiliar word is repeated often in the document. What does it mean? Kitagaki was able to decipher the secret document. First, he divided the stone wall into 1 ken, or 1.8 meter sections. Then he drew a small triangle. Nori refers to the slope of this triangle. The nori's slant is determined by the length of the base of the triangle. By shortening the base, using the same formula as you go up the stone wall, the nori wall curves back on itself. It requires a very complex modern mathematical formula to come up with this gradient. It is now clear that the stone walls were constructed to exact specifications.
生み出したのかと。侍たちの英知という言い方がふさわしいでしょうね。
400 years ago, samurai warriors were living in a tumultuous age of Japan's civil war. They lived in constant danger of enemy attacks. Was Musha Gaesi invented to repel the enemies? Could it be that Kiyomasa invented this structure as an anti-quake measure? Coming up, we'll unfold these mysteries. We'll also revisit the reconstruction efforts at the castle today. How will they make the castle more quake-resistant while preserving its value as a cultural property? We'll be on hand to witness the unprecedented challenge. One expert has taken up the challenge to solve the mystery surrounding the invention of Musha Gaesi. He is Soichiro Kitagaki. Kitagaki headed for another castle created by Kiyomasa to investigate. The ruins of Ulsan Castle are situated on a mountaintop near Ulsan City, in the southern part of South Korea.
This この辺りずっと私指さしてますところずっと直線的でしてね、それが熊本城と一番の違いかなと。
The curved incline was not utilized in Ulsan Castle, which was built by Kato Kiyomasa in 1593. He built Kumamoto Castle 6 years after Ulsan Castle. So, the earthquake-resistant curve must have been invented in the interim. measure. Experts confirmed that at least 17 sections of the Kumamoto Castle stone walls matched the complex mathematical formula deciphered from the secret book of stone walls.
これはもう地震を考えざるを得ないんじゃないかなということを今感じますね。
Besides the Musha Gayesi curve, there was another new method employed in the stone walls of Kumamoto Castle to make them even. NHK decided to team up with a researcher to create a new software to facilitate restoration.
これは石垣をこうマッチングするための、ソフトウェアなんですけれども、あとはなんかこうパスを作るもの。
It's programmed to instantly show the most likely place where a stone may have been positioned in the stone wall. When you trace the outline of a stone's flat surface, the program recognizes and computes the shape.
で今結果が出ました。どこかと言いますとここですね。これが一番近いという照合結果が出ました。
The screen shows where the stone is most likely to have been located before the earthquake. This method of determining the location of each of the 20,000 stones is continuing. As the reconstruction of Kumamoto Castle began, a new risk factor came to light.
暗みが非常に大きくなっていることが分かります。非常に心配しているところです。
Even in the stone walls that escaped damage, bulging parts were found. The entire center section of this stone wall was also bulging. 3 weeks after this bulge was discovered, it suddenly collapsed.
余震の影響とかで少しずつやっぱり膨らみが大きくなって、限界に達したところが今回のようにガラガラガラっといくのかなというふうに思ってますけども。
The damage is spreading unseen through the internal structure. Tatsuaki Nishigata, who studies stone wall structures, has been investigating the bulges.
かなり膨らんでいますね。落ちてくるんじゃないかという恐怖感に駆られる。
This is Nishigata's analysis of why the stone walls have bulged. The inside of the stone wall is stuffed with cobblestones. Previously, they were thought to absorb the sway of the quake and stabilize the stone wall. But the two major Kumamoto tremors have been followed by countless aftershocks for an extended period of time, increasing in recent years. These frequent tremors have caused the cobblestones to sink, forcing the wall stones outward. When the outward force becomes too great, the wall collapses.
グリーシュというのはやはり味方だと、強度を増す側に機能していると、私自身そう思ってましたからね。はい、それは間違いないだろうと思ったのが、地震時にはひょっとしたら敵に回る可能性があるという。
As the investigation progressed, the original stone walls, thought to be more resistant to earthquakes, were also discovered to have some bulges. In the entire castle complex, no less than 9 sections have been found to have bulges. And 2 of them were in imminent danger of collapse. Analysis was conducted on one of the 2 sections. The concentration of red indicates a high probability of collapse. If even a portion of the wall collapses, it could cause a chain reaction that may lead to large-scale failure. What if the damage gets even worse? For the Kumamoto citizens, who have devoted their energies to speedy reconstruction, this is extremely alarming.
どうも少し動いているという情報はいただいてます。
なるほどね。見た目には崩れてないけど危ないという評価もできるわけですね。そうなると積み直しの箇所また増えると。そうですね。
earthquakes, has survived to this day. The restored wall is known for its Musha Gaesi curves. The right curve is attributed to Kiyomasa, and the left is the extension Tadatoshi built. Builders at the time placed large stones at the curved corner of the wall. This was to make Kiyomasa's Musha Gaesi wall even sturdier. By using larger stones, the contact surface areas increased, making the structure more stable. Mayor Onishi has been trying to cope with the conflicting demands of preserving the value of the cultural property and the need to make the structures more quake-resistant. As the further risks of earthquake damage loomed, the cultural experts also started to feel that there is a need to make the wall more resistant to earthquakes.
できるだけ現代工法を使わない方法でねやれればいいと思ってるんですけど、なかなか現実は難しいみたいですね。構造補強っていうのを考えなきゃなんないんじゃないかと。
Specifically, concerning stone wall reconstruction, the experts proposed incorporating some of the old technology chronicled in the secret book of stone walls.
1年地震から経ちますけど、もう工事に着手したよとお母さんが作った